Thank you. Cool. So I did promise people that I'd try to make security fun last night, so I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm going to be talking about empowering web dev and design teams to build securely. It's often underutilized in terms of strategy, like implementing secure coding principles, and it can be seen as like a strategy, secondary to the overall strategy of building good web pages and web applications. But I want to show you how it can be a superpower. So this statistic is kind of what inspired this talk. It's that 81% of developers have knowingly released vulnerable applications. And I think, yeah, this was done by Immersive Labs, hey Hannah, and it drew the conclusions from a survey of 260 development organizations, and development and security teams in large organizations. But before that, I'll just go into kind of the context about who I am and why this is a really important topic to me. So I'm a software engineer at CyberSafe. I've worked at CyberSafe for 4 years now, but I've been a developer for the last 2.5. Also a career switcher, and kind of love the mission of being able to try and help transform the way that society views security and cyber risk in general. Outside of that, I'm really passionate about getting diverse people into technology and technical roles, and so I'm part of the leadership team for Coding Black Females, and part of what I do there is build and instruct on courses that help to upskill black women in the UK. So kind of the mission of CyberSafe is about building security that works for people everywhere, and what that means is kind of the phishing, the kind of using applications element of the internet, not necessarily building it. So when I came across this statistic, I had no idea that this was such a massive problem. And I really want to talk about the ways that we can all work towards reducing this number. And I want to try and make sure that it's seen as something that's not boring. You don't have to be a security expert. And it should be something that we're thinking of in all the stages of designing through to implementation. Yeah, so it's not going to be one about boring statistics, the scary statistics. I'm just going to go through a few of the OWASP security projects. So yeah, when I love this meme, I love cats, but I also, apologies for the grammar error, but yeah, so you're a programmer, and yes, so your code must be well optimized and secure. So going back to that statistic, it made me realize, like that cat, how little I knew about the code I was building and how little I knew about how to maintain secure applications. So as a career switcher who came through a boot camp, I didn't have any exposure to secure coding in that pathway of learning. And so despite working in information security and knowing all about phishing and social engineering and that aspect, I knew very little about building securely. So that sent me on a bit of a rabbit hole and got me really interested in building securely. But in doing that investigation, I came up against a lot of barriers. So I saw that security was a bit of a black box for me. But what I mean by that is that it's kind of a system with inputs and outputs, but not really a clue what's going on inside. And then also, it was really difficult to understand a lot of the concepts and the jargon. There seems to be a lot of gatekeeping and kind of, like withholding of information in ways that people like to be the expert and not let you learn that thing. So that was a tricky thing as well. And then also, there was a really vast threat landscape. How the hell do I focus or find what's important to focus on when I'm building these web applications? And then on top of that, it was really difficult to know within my organization who was directly responsible for doing the certain learning about these things. It wasn't something that was in my job role at the time, so I wasn't sure how much of it I should have been aware of. Ooh, extra animation. So yeah, just a quick overview, because cybersecurity has so many definitions. It's changed so much over the last few years. But I like this one because it's seen as like an ongoing effort to protect individuals and protecting people from attacks by protecting the networks and data from unauthorized use or harm. And I'm going to be talking about OWASP, which is, I'll talk about it in a second, but I love this quote as well, that the problem of insecure software is perhaps the most important technical challenge of our time. It really is something that we're constantly having to change and adapt to as the threat landscape changes, and I don't think that it can be something that can be solved by any one single organization or any one single person. It's definitely no single strategy that will work for everything. But the point of security really is to try and slow attackers down and implement the strategies which will mean that we are making it more difficult for the attackers to succeed. And also, I think that we all have a responsibility to build technology that empowers and protects people. And so, yeah, whether you're a designer, whether you're a front-end dev, back-end dev, I think that we're all involved in building things for people who are trusting us with their data, with their information, with the things that they are trying to do online. And I think with that responsibility that we have, we need to make sure that we are respecting that and giving people the rights and the protection to that data. So with this in mind, I think if you're writing code or designing applications, you're more likely to build things that are able to stand the test of attacks. So the really cool thing about OWASP is that it's open and collaborative. It is, all of their projects and all of their information is open source. They have loads of people across the world contributing to the vast projects. And today, I'm going to be talking about 4 of these projects. And so, yeah, more context to the OWASP team. Collective of engineers, they produce tons of free documentation, and they have learning resources tailored to all levels. So the first of the projects I'm going to talk about is the OWASP Top 10. And this is a standard awareness document for developers and people building web applications, and it's globally recognized as the first step towards secure coding. It's absolutely not a comprehensive list of everything that can go wrong, but it does give you a really good checklist to start with. And the whole point in this top 10 is to kind of demystify, like I was saying, the black box element and making sure that anybody that's involved in building software can have a rough guide, a little checkbox of the things they can do to make sure that it is a secure web app. So, like I said, it's a priority of risks and expert source checklist. The next thing I want to talk about is Threat Dragon. It's a super cute little dragon, but it's a free open source threat modeling application. And the whole aim behind the OWASP team that built this is that it's meant to be simple, engaging, fun, and really nice to use. And this is something that, whether you know how to code or not, you can use this application. It's browser-based or desktop-based. You can use this to kind of map out the different parts of your web app, your web pages, how they interact and how data moves through them. And with this visual map, presenting it to the team that's going to build that feature, you can more easily see the areas that will need to be protected and where those threats lie. So yeah, really fun one, and I recommend taking a look at that. And then OWASP has the OWASP Cornucopia. So this is more of a game-based thing, and again, it's free, open source. I think you can buy a nice card set, but they also have the PDFs available for you to print this yourself. And it's a game-based way to design security stories. So you can use this for, again, a specific feature that you're building, and it will help you to view the requirements and then develop those user-based stories on those requirements. And then the final one I'm going to talk about is Zap. And Zap is a crawler that you can scan your web application with, and its spider will passively scan each page within that. So Zap will use an active scanner to attack all of the discovered pages, functionalities, and parameters. Don't test this on websites you don't have permission to check, because this is like essentially pen testing. But again, free, open source, and you can have a look at the kind of vulnerabilities you might not have been aware of. I really like this one because it shows that you don't really need to have the massive security budget to purchase all of the products that would enable you to find these things. Yeah, and it's a fun way as well. If you're looking for an introduction, they've got like a quick start mode, which allows you to just put in the URL to attack, and you don't need to know too much about it to be able to use it, which is super cool. And then I want to talk about how, yeah, all of these things and just getting into security in general will make you a better developer, because you'll be able to catch vulnerabilities earlier and you'll build secure code by default. And I think if we all make an effort to empower our teams to get more involved in web app security, we can work towards building a more secure web. Yeah, that's it.